Look, I opened this jar of rotten baby food, and well, a butterfly came out.
So didn't something similar happen in Game of Thrones?
Perhaps it
I'm,
did.
I'm pretty sure it did. Was it,
Welcome to the Comedians in Elevators podcast. I've got my guest, Andrew Smith. Andrew, say hi, introduce yourself, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, my name is, as you said, it's Andrew Smith. I used to be an actor touring for like a kids' theatre company, going to schools up and down the UK. I then went on to work for about 10 years in the West End as stage crew. And now I write alongside a day job. I write pantomime scripts, which I sell to as from my brother's pantomime script company, and I'm just trying to break into screenwriting, and I've literally come. I've just come as a quarter finalist in the Wiki Screen competition.
Very cool. I have to ask, technically, what is a pantomime script?
So pantomime is like a British style of theatre where it's normally like a fairy tale played out over two acts, and it's aimed at like the entire family. So there's going to be some larger than life characters. It's got your traditional fairy tale adventures. It's got jokes for the kids, and it's got some jokes for the adults as well, which the kids don't quite get. They think it's funny on a certain level, but the adults know what level it's actually funny on.
Got it. So it sounds like a Disney animated story. Is it similar to that?
I would say imagine like a stage version of like a Disney animated story, but characters can also interact with the audience as well. So
All right.
yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Just to double click on that, technically pantomime is when there's no speaking. Is that correct?
So there's two different types of pantomime. There's you got like your singular pantomime, who is like a person doing like all the
Mhm.
mime movements and no speaking. So I think over and where you guys are in the USA, it's I think that's called a pantomime. Where we would probably here in the UK we would just call them a mime act, and like a pantomime, what we would call a pantomime is like a full blown, a full scale show.
Got it. Okay. Very cool. Well, I'm sure there's a lot of people also didn't know just like me. So now we're all on the same page. Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, Andrew, you ready to get started?
I am. Yeah, let's do this.
Listen, to my regular listeners, I know you don't like when at the beginning of these conversations I ask you to subscribe. None of us like it. I don't like saying it. I don't like it being in here. But it's frustrating. You know what else is frustrating? It's also frustrating when I look in the back end of the YouTube channel and I see the 56% of you that watch frequently haven't yet subscribed. And I know this because I see it in the comments section. You say things like, I didn't know I didn't subscribe. And that's actually what fuels the show. Basically, it's like you're making a donation to the show. So that's why I ask all the time, because it enables us to build and build and build. And we're going for the long term here. Hit the subscribe button and we'll continue to build this show for you. That's my promise. Thank you to all you guys that do subscribe. It means the world to me. All right. So the whole point of the podcast is to compare and contrast the comic versus the comedian. So I define the comic as any person telling funny jokes versus the comedian who's a funny person telling any joke. So Andrew, would you agree that you start as a comic and evolve into a comedian?
Yeah, definitely. You've all got to start somewhere, haven't you? So a comedian will definitely start as a comic, telling jokes to like their friends or their family or even their schoolmates if they're young enough. So yeah, I think that's how everyone, all comedians, would start as a comic first.
All right. All right. So the role of persona in comedy. So how much of the comedian's voice is a character versus their real self?
Well, I think that not just in comedy, but in all types of performing, you have like a professional persona that you put on when you're in front of an audience. So, say take like a stand-up comedian, I think it'll be about 50-50. They're probably about half themselves and half that professional persona that they put on in public whilst they're working. It's the same in TV interviews as well, like and not just comedians. Like actors, singers. In like a TV interview, they'll be still more themselves. They're not putting on an act, but they do have that professional frontage on.
All right. Well, so does authenticity matter, or is illusion part of the magic?
So I think authenticity has got to matter, really, because if you're not speaking from an authentic place, then people can normally tell. And I think if you're a comedian, it's like a lot of the jokes are coming from like what you've observed or what you've thought at some point. So yeah, I think authenticity plays a big part in it.
All right. Okay. So punching up versus punching down. So where do comics versus comedians stand on this? And let me put it in some historical context.
Yeah.
Did a jealous medieval prince become the first comedian by killing a court jester? Beady, 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 beady.
So didn't something similar happen in Game of Thrones?
Perhaps it did.
I'm pretty sure it did. I'm pretty sure there was a jester on there who sung about the Lannisters or something, and then King Joffrey ended up having his tongue removed. So probably not so much a comedian, but
Very
yeah,
dark
yeah,
humor to say the least, right?
yeah, exactly. But I would say it's always better to punch up, I think, because it's the safer thing to do, and you're aiming to have a pop up at like people that are just on a different level from the most of us, like like the Donald Trumps, the Elon Musks, the Keir Starmers. They're up there, so particularly coming from a pantomime writer point of view, if you're any type of celebrity or like pillar of the community or like a country leader, you're fair game. You're fair game.
Even if it's Joe Biden and you don't know if he's there.
Even if it was Joe Biden, yeah. If we could put, because Joe Biden, a lot of people know who he is. We probably could put a joke about Joe Biden in somewhere. People would know who he is, and they would laugh at it. So yeah, and also I think because like a lot of the pantomime audiences. They're the type of people who graft hard all day, and probably most of the weekends as well, probably unfortunately don't get paid very much at all, and, are trying to get by paycheck to paycheck, week to week. So we don't want to poke fun at people like that because, we are also people. We are the same people. So people who are absolutely flying, it's more fun to punch up and poke jokes at them, really, just because they're in that spotlight. And like I said, they're fair game as we see them, unless your audience has got like a decent sense of self-deprecating humor, and they can take a little bit of like joking around and Mickey taking, and if they can take that, then yeah, that's fine. But you got to find a way to test the waters first, I would say.
Maybe you got to throw a sacrificial joke out there that someone else tells, and then see how it lands. You get the warm them up first.
Exactly, yeah. And then if it only gets a load of titters and not laughs, then you might want to go maybe not then.
All right, cultural translation of comedy. So how do jokes that work in one country bomb in another?
Well, I've actually got like first-hand experience of this because when I was touring the schools I was performing in pantomimes as well before I started writing them. and you would see how different jokes would perform differently, in even not just from, I mean, we didn't go from country to country, but even from area to area of the same country. Like we could be telling a joke like up in Newcastle or something up in the northeast. And I'm from England, by the way, for those who haven't figured it out yet. So we could be telling a joke up in Newcastle, and it would get like absolutely roaring laughter. 2 weeks later, you're 500 miles south in Truro on the south coast, tell the same joke, and it just doesn't get the same reaction. You might get a bit of a laughter, but it's just not quite the same. And also, you can even have different reactions when you're going from place to place. Like we could do a performance in the morning at one school, and the joke gets roaring laughter, and then say like you could go to another side of the same city. If you go to like a private school, which is in a bit more of like an affluent area, they might not quite get it because it's a different culture, it's a different lifestyle. So it's I think when it comes to jokes working in some areas and not others, I think it's just dependent on what their lifestyle is, what their culture is, and do you know what, maybe even how they're brought up. So yeah.
All right. So, how different would it be if the same thing started looking now like it would not change if nothing else really did?
Say that again, sorry.
And no, you got it the first time. All right. So, are comics more universal while comedians are
Yeah.
more culturally specific?
Um, See, I would say because comedians have like a pretty big platform from where they perform on, with it being they're well known on social media sites. You know, they have audiences up and down the country. I think they have to focus on like being probably that little bit more cultural. Where you could have the comic who's telling jokes to his mates in the pub or something, and then they don't have to be as cultural. They can be more general, if you know what I mean.
All right. All right. Crowd work versus crafted work. So, if comics riff like influencers in the comments section and comedians perform like in reaction videos, where's the sweet spot?
So I've been thinking about this question a lot. I've been binging a load of the previous episodes whilst I've been at work. Don't tell my boss, or
Nice.
she's probably watching. But but yeah. So I've thought a lot about this question, and I think the sweet spot is when you manage to get the balance right between interacting with your audience and like doing like a more scripted comedy, and sorry, a more scripted stand-up routine. So there's actually a comedian over here who's a Welsh comedian. He's called Rob Brydon. Have you ever seen the BBC show Gavin and Stacey?
Not that I recall.
Oh well, okay. Well, it's worth checking out if you ever get an opportunity to see it. But he plays like a very funny character on that. But in his stand-up shows, I was fortunate enough to see him do stand-up back in 2009, I think it was. So geez, that was a long time ago now. And so he has the perfect balance, because I would say about probably about 75% of his stand-up show was narrative, funny storytelling, and every so often he would break away and chat to a member of the audience and ask them, what they do and how they are and everything like that. Just get like a general conversation, and then he would do that to about like 5 or 6 audience members as the show goes on, and then towards the end of the show, what he would do, he would get like his musician mate of his to come up on stage and give him a beat on the guitar, or like a rhythm on the guitar, and or a tune, sorry, and he would then improvised this entire comedy song using everyone and incorporating everyone that he's spoken to in the audience and making a joke about what they do in this comedy song. And I'm like, that's incredible. It's like, because not only can you just do your normal narrative comedy, but then to like break away and then go into another style, like interacting with the audience and then incorporating them into your show is just absolutely fantastic, I think. So I think, and then on top of that, he's also an impersonator as well. So he does impressions and impersonations during his show. So I think he's got the perfect mix of talent and skills in his stand-up show there.
Well, it sounds like he's ready for this next question, which is a very important question, which is about advertising and self-promotion. So, who advertises themselves more, the comic, the comedian, or the magician? You know that place where you're not conscious and you're not sleeping either? That's your power bill to the electric company. Right here. I want us to be here with free energy, where the Wardenclyffe Tower meets the Eiffel Tower. But that's not where we are. We are here, where you've got the utility and you've got residential solar. Between these two, we know which one saves you money. This is where we can go in the meantime. But this is where I want us to be now, and this can be done now. So let me deputize you to represent DOSE, Department of Solar Efficiency, and let's get on the podcast and get the message out today. See you soon.
Oh, okay. I'll be honest with you. I see a lot more advertisements for comedians than I do for comics and magicians, really. But as it comes to advertising, it's like it's so easy to advertise yourself these days, especially with like the power of social media and being able to drum up your own online audience and followers. So as to who does it most, I would probably say if a comic was wanting to become a comedian, then they really should be advertising themselves, getting themselves out there, getting gigs, and making themselves known through that channel. Maybe even doing short videos of themselves, telling jokes, putting it on their socials. As for magicians, even though I don't see as many magicians advertising, they should really be doing the same thing. But you've then got the comedians who will have the bigger budget, especially if their shows are being produced by like a big name producer. They're going to have the advertising budget to get their advertising campaign further out and wider spreads, so to speak. So, but the comedian might not do that themselves, even though they'll probably still promote themselves on their own social media sites. A lot of that advertising will probably be done and funded by the producer. So I would go with the comic. Actually, I would say the comic / magicians, but I'm going to go comic just because I would see more of their adverts than I do for adverts for magicians.
So perhaps a comic magician, would that be the one? That would be the ideal person to advertise? I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a possibility. We're going to create one,
Yeah.
create a scenario where there's an idealized version for advertising. But let's move on.
Yeah.
All right. Censorship and offense. So does a comic avoid offense while a comedian courts it to prove a point, like a magician?
I'll be honest with you, I've not really seen many magicians causing offense, to be honest. I think
Proving a point.
Proving a point. Yeah. So when it comes to comedians, because they've got like the the wider view, the wider what's the wider audience, should I say? I think they really have to be a lot more careful about what they say. I mean, we hear about comedians like saying stuff that's offensive, and it's all over like the social medias, isn't it? Just because they can be quite a big name. Whereas comics, well, they shouldn't really be saying anything offensive anyway, but they might not be looking out as much, specifically if they're doing like possibly like doing like smaller gigs or something, or like you said, telling jokes in front of their mates. They might not be as conscious about it. So, but yeah, I would say like the big name comedians have really got to be on it, and I think there's the smart comedians will always push the boundary. Comedy is always pushing boundaries, isn't it? So, but I think there's got to be ways that you test the water before you go ahead and say something that could really rock the boat.
So then who survives better in the cancel culture environment? The comic, the comedian, the magician, or the mudslinger?
So, what would you call a mudslinger?
The guy with the tomatoes at the execution?
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. Well, I would probably say him, to be honest with you, because for all we know, he might be going around instigating the cancel culture once he's slung the tomatoes.
Right.
So, so yeah, yeah, I would say that person.
Okay. I would agree. I mean, it's pretty much if
yeah,
he's the one that started it, he's the one that could end it, right?
yeah, yeah,
All right, Andrew, are you ready to enter the multiverse?
yeah. Bring on the multiverse. Bring it on.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Board game Zoomcast, play versus performance. So if
Yeah.
comedy were a board game Zoomcast, are you competing as the colorist, adding tone, mood, and shading, or the Foley artist, building punchlines with soundscapes and timing?
So is this an actual board game? Because when I was watching previous episodes, I was trying to Google it and couldn't find it anywhere.
It's gonna have. So, I mean, first it's the podcast, and then
Yeah.
it's the board game, and then the
Oh, okay.
next thing. Oh, but this is the steps that we're gonna take to realize. So, yes, this is a real thing that doesn't exist yet.
Oh, okay. Right. Okay. Yeah. So, what were the options again?
Colorist or Foley artist?
So you said the Foley artist was like constructing the punchlines. Yeah.
No, I mean technically it would be like a traditional Foley artist making sound. Well, punchlines. Building punchlines with soundscapes and timing. Yes.
Yeah. I would say I would start off as the Foley artist until I'd refined that craft, and then I'll probably
Okay.
move on to try and master some of the color skills. So
All right.
yeah,
That's a
once
good
I've
answer.
yeah
You're gonna
yeah
have to play twice. You're gonna have to play twice to do that, though. So, does comedy work better when it's painted vividly or when it's orchestrated sonically?
um. So sorry, give me an example of like both of them.
Well, it's the same as the colorist and the Foley artist.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So I would say sonically, yeah, I think sonically, because it, that is allowing it to be more fast paced, I think. And but then again, it depends on what type of comedian you are. Really, I mean, we've got a brilliant comedian over here, a guy called Tim Vine, who is well known for his quick fire like one liner jokes, and so he would be sonically, and I think like the majority of other uh, comedians that I've seen would be the other one. But
So
yeah, if
this
you're
is
looking,
this exists in the multiverse because realistically, if you're doing stand up, there is no real tone and mood and shading visually. It would all be sonically. But in the multiverse, and of course in cinema, the colorist does exist. So that's where it's coming from.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So I would still say, that sonically, really, just because it can be fast paced, and I think being fast paced really works in comedy.
Absolutely, but just to touch on that, the pace, there can be visual pacing, at least when you do video art.
Yeah,
Obviously, with podcasts, movies, there is a visual tempo. But we're talking about jokes, it's mostly sonic when it comes to
yeah,
timing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. So here on the Comedians in Elevators podcast, we have a tradition where the previous guest asks a question for the next guest. And the previous guest was Sage Justice. And her question for you, Andrew, is why are you doing what you are doing?
Because it's fun and I enjoy it. And life is short and you just got to enjoy it. So, yeah,
I
I
think
would
that would
say
be
that.
the universally most appreciated answer, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Definitely. If you're not enjoying doing something, then why would you be doing it, But yeah,
Masochist, you
that's a
like to
good
torture
question.
yourself? Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, there
sorry?
are, people do like to torture themselves. So they will, tend to hang themselves in
Yeah.
the closet. I mean, you've seen that. Come on. I can't be
Yeah.
pulling this one. All right.
Yeah,
Last
no, that's true.
question. Legacy. Who gets remembered? Will the comics Tight Five survive time, or will the comedian's cultural point of view be more timeless?
See, I've given this some thought, and when it comes to a comedian's point of view, yeah, you've got that once again. You've got that massive stage to spread your point of view as far and wide as you can. And do you know what? There will be some point of views that will be very, very memorable, and it will stick with people for a long time. But eventually, over time, whether it be like decades or maybe even hundreds of years, that will get forgotten at some point as time moves on, as cultures moves on, as trends move on. However, the the comics 5 minute slot trying to impress his mates and his family, no matter what time you're in or what culture you're in, that's always going to be there. So I think the comic will live on. Yeah,
Interesting. So the contemporary comedy scene is what's going to allow legacy to continue.
I think so. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. I love it. All
Yeah,
right.
I mean,
Well,
you will always get like comedians who are going to be like world famous and doing really well. So they will also be always here. But what I mean is, if one comic said something that is profound and very memorable right now, that will get forgotten over time. Whereas the type of people who tell their mates jokes, they'll always be there. So.
all right. I'll go
Yeah.
with that one. So, Andrew, where can everybody find you online?
So I'm on LinkedIn and I have a Facebook page as well. It's Andrew Smith author page, and I'll tell you what. Shall I send you the links to them so you can put them on the
Absolutely. They'll be in the
yeah,
description.
fantastic. I'll do
Absolutely.
that.
And
Yeah.
for everyone else, please like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.
Thank you.